So welcome everybody to the December 2021 Goose Hollow Foothills League neighborhood meeting. And we're just discussing right now why we're having a December meeting when a lot of other neighborhoods and organizations are not, because it's the holidays. And that is so that we can just get hit the ground running. We've had our neighborhood elections last month, and we just need to have elections of the executive officers so that we can kind of plan what we're going to be doing next year, have the committee heads in place. I don't expect, or at least I hope that this won't take too long. I'm thankful that that Catherine and Sean are joining us probably via cell phone as they're driving to the coast on their escapist weekend. So that's a dedication for you right there. Thumbs up to them. So with that started, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And let's start the election for president. Does somebody want to take my position?
No, I don't want it, but I'm wondering if Bridget does.
Bridget, Bridget seemed to indicate to me that she is very, very happy to turn over the treasurer's position to somebody. She hasn't expressed an interest to me of becoming president. I think she was perfectly happy being treasurer for the year or two that she was. And I know that David has expressed an interest in it. David, do you know anything more about that?
No, other than that she and I are planning on meeting with her computer to go through all the accounts in the beginning of the year at the Multnomah Athletic Club. So we're going to go through the details of all the mechanics. So it's just a matter of time.
All right. Oh, good. Tiffany's here. Hey, Tiffany. Hey.
Hello.
Do you know if Vadim is going to be joining us?
He's not. I actually emailed him earlier today and said, hey, are we going to connect over public safety topics? And he said, I'm not able to make the meeting tonight. So I apologize if I didn't know if I was supposed to communicate that or if he did, but you got me tonight. Am I kind of quiet?
No, you sound good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to turn up my volume here.
I said you sounded good and you're turning up your volume. Okay.
You're super quiet, so sorry about that.
Well, so we're just about, we're going to just jump into elections, Tiffany. So this is president. Does anybody want to run for president?
Well, I wanted to nominate Bridget.
Okay. Does she know that you're nominating her?
I'm not sure.
That's the problem. If they're not here,
Yeah.
the worst thing is to nominate them and to say, hey, you're our new president. Here are the million responsibilities you have. So Sherry, unless you can confirm that she actually wants it, it would probably be a bad, and she's not here at the meeting. It would be a bad idea to nominate her. You can still do it, but it might put you in the doghouse with her if she gets elected.
What do you think I should do? You think I should, she can't make it tonight?
No. And what I was saying is that I'm not saying that she doesn't want the presidency or any position, but it seemed like she was super happy to be leaving the treasurer position. I don't know if that was because she wanted to be president or because she was just kind of tired being, in the crosshairs of everybody trying to explain the treasurer position and our funds.
Well, the same issue too is that if I wanted to nominate her, what about having her be vice president, or is that the same problem?
Yeah, it's just, with her not here and not expressing an interest, I would be loath. She's never expressed it to me, and I think she's a great person and would be great in basically any position that she would want to be in. But I don't know. If she's not here, I can't speak for her.
Okay, well,
I've said, and I'm not trying to push her way out of the president's position. I've said that I'm willing to serve another year. And the reason is not because I like all the power, because frankly, it just takes way too much of my time to do all the little details. But since we have such a new board, I'm trying to train people up on kind of all the different responsibilities so that when my time is up at the end of next year, if in fact I get elected, that people can just kind of take over and hit the ground running and know exactly who to contact and what the procedures are, what our bylaws say. They have everything in hand. So that's why I'm doing it. Again, it's not something that I take great pleasure in, where I advertise to everybody that I'm president of the GHFL. But I think the reason why I'm running is I don't think we're quite there yet, where we have all the kind of knowledge in place to keep going. So I noticed that people have nominated me. I want to take other nominations from the floor also.
Well, I'll nominate you, Scott.
Oh, okay, well, I appreciate the vote of confidence.
I second it since,
Okay, well, why don't I tell you what? Why don't we just go ahead and have a vote? We don't have anybody else on the ballot for president. So if you want to vote for me, raise a hand, please. Catherine, keep your hand on the steering wheel. Sean. All right. Okay, thank you for the vote of confidence. Sherry, can I ask you to do something though?
yeah, what is that?
Can you, because Vadim is not here and we don't have a secretary, can you just jot down some notes, and they don't need to be detailed, just like who was nominated, who was elected, what the vote was, and then I can go ahead and take your notes and maybe turn it into the minutes, or we can send it to the new secretary.
Well, I am the world's worst secretary. Okay, let me get a clipboard and, okay. Just a second. Let me get a clipboard. Do you have a clipboard? I'm gonna be taking notes.
What was that vote count, by the way?
Did anybody not? So not everybody is here. So Bridget's not here. Vadim is not here. It seriously will not hurt my feelings if you did not vote, but I think it was 7-2. I think everybody did vote.
Okay, so Scott, who were the other two? So Scott
No,
got
I'm not 7-2. I mean 9 out of 11. I guess there are 9 people here.
so 9 out of 11.
There are 13 people here.
I'm sorry, the 9 board members.
Board members.
Oh, I see.
So it has to be board members. So there were 9 board members out of
11.
Out of 11, and so those were, and then everyone just agreed to return you to the presidency.
I'll also remind people that means that likely I will be the representative to Neighbors West Northwest, which may be one of the, Alan published my joke that I had in a previous meeting, but it was an honest one about how I was so happy to have missed a meeting. Tiffany's probably happy to not be required to attend meetings in the future. They have a new president. We'll see if that makes a difference. I miss seeing Alan's face at the Neighbors West Northwest meetings, and we'll have more to say about it when I give the report.
Okay.
Let's move on to vice president. Does anybody want to serve or self-nominate or nominate others for vice president?
And again, I can't nominate Bridget because she's not here.
Well, you can nominate her, but if she doesn't want to serve, we need doers on the board. Or not, executive. She's a doer, but it sounds like she wants to take a break. So
Okay, well, that's a shame, but I understand. Yeah, it's a lot of work, isn't it?
yeah. Anybody?
Scott, just to clarify, since I have been in the role of vice president, if I continue on, does that mean my term will end in September, August, or when does it end for me? Because I'll serve a 2-year.
Right, so we are vice president. If you're vice president again, you will be vice president through the annual meeting, the November meeting. And then just like now, in the December meeting, there will need to be a new vice president. And that's only because the bylaws say you can only be in that one position for 2 consecutive years. It's not to say that you can't be president. It's not to say that you can't be any other position. It's just you can't have the same position for 2 years consecutively. Does that answer the question?
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you. And by the way, did we actually talk to Bridget about if she wanted any of these positions, or did she kind of respectfully say, you know, I would love to just be a board member without one of these honorary titles?
I seem to remember, and David, maybe you can refresh my memory. I seem to remember her saying that, you know, she's ecstatic to be passing on the treasurer position to somebody else and will train them up on it, which was, I mean, it wasn't explicit that she wanted to, you know, leave the executive committee altogether, but it seemed like she wanted to at least pass the treasurer position on to somebody else. And I haven't heard anything from her where she wanted to serve in any other position. David, do you know anything about that?
No, I second that sentiment in that a couple of times she expressed that she was pretty fatigued in that position.
There you go. Okay. So Tiffany, does that mean that you self-nominate for vice president?
So yes.
You,
Thank
you don't need to.
Oh, okay. Well, how do y'all feel about me continuing in this role? I guess put your hands. I guess if there's anybody that would like to not have me in that role, please speak up now.
Well,
Otherwise, I'll just.
let's ask if anybody else wants to serve as vice president first. I'm not seeing any hands. Again, Sean and Catherine, keep your hands on the wheel. But if you want to like put a thumbs up or a hand raise or something like that, or I don't know what reaction would be a no. So Catherine, thumbs up means that you do want to run or that you're okay not running. Put a crying emoji if you don't want to run. Or put a thumbs up.
He says voting for Tiffany.
Put a thumbs up emoji if you want to run, a crying emoji.
And Sean
if you don't
too.
want to
As Linda says in the chat, they've both said Tiffany.
Yeah.
run. Okay. Sean too. Okay. Let's go ahead and run. I'm not hearing any other nominations. So let's go ahead and raise your vote. Raise your hand, vote for Tiffany for vice president. Tiffany, you can go ahead and raise your hand as well.
Sherry, are you voting? Okay.
Okay, she's writing the minutes, so she'll go ahead and write down the results. Congratulations, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Now we have
Yes.
secretary. This is an enormously important position. It does entail some work, but I will ensure that I work with whoever it is to make the transition as easy as possible, because we do have templates and things like that we can operate off of, but you know, it does require that we at least have some meeting minutes that we can vote on. One of the things that we've done in the past is that we've continued to have more and more detailed minutes, and that is really not necessary for the organization. If you look at some organization minutes, like for the Neighbors West Northwest, they are very spare. So if the person who is secretary just simply does not have the time to write down all the details, then as long as they hit the highlights, then that serves the purpose for this organization. So I want to ask anybody if they will want to serve as secretary of this organization. Please, I'm begging you.
I will self-nominate, Scott.
David, thank you.
Awesome.
I have to say, being secretary in this time of Zoom is actually kind of helpful because we now record our meetings, which is great to fall back on. I have to say, last month when Vadim wasn't able to attend and I jumped into the secretary role, I wasn't prepared for it, but the Zooms helped me. But what I found was if there's meetings that are quite challenging conversations, it's so hard to take notes because, you know, you saw how I used Zoom, or I used the YouTube to dictate the notes and transcribe it. And that to me helped carry on the essence of some of the disagreements we were having, because it's hard as a secretary, you have to try to understand what was voted on and you know the problems that were on hand. But I have a feeling with this board going forward, we'll not have as much of those issues. So being secretary might be easier for you now. I
hope
could be
so.
wrong. So I'm sorry I put in a very, very detailed summary of last month's meeting. I just got really worried. That's all. And I didn't want to go back and forth and haggle on meeting minutes, right?
Right.
So yeah. So, but thank you, Scott, for cleaning up my minutes.
Okay, Linda, Laurie, Steve, any interest in secretary? Or we'll just let David handle it. I mean, I'm astounded and quite pleased that he's volunteered.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, all right,
Appreciate
well,
it, David.
let's vote. All
My
in
pleasure.
favor of David being secretary of this organization, raise your hand, please. Sherry?
And Catherine says in favor.
Okay,
Thanks, David.
thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
All right, now moving to treasurer. And Bridget just basically has it down to a science. If you do want it to be handed off that position, she can take you to the bank so that you have signatory authority. All her checks are deposited electronically. We don't have many checks in the first place. So I want to ask people if anybody's interested in serving on the executive committee as the treasurer. It's not hard. Not hard at all.
I'm coming off being treasurer on Lincoln's band committee, so I could. I've
Perfect.
got-
Okay, Steve is nominated by Scott. Anybody else?
I second Steve's nomination.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Steve. Did they get new band instruments?
We're having that ongoing discussion because we've been fundraising now for 2 years of COVID and we haven't had anything to spend it on, and they can't go on tour, so it's quite
Yeah.
strange.
Okay. Because we need new band instruments here in the neighborhood. Okay,
With
well,
mufflers.
I'm not seeing, Sherry, is that hand raised because you want to nominate or because you're voting for Steve? You're on mute.
I thought I would preempt yeah, I'm voting for Steve,
Okay.
unless there's somebody who's really just, you know, so
Okay.
hot to take his position, has been away from him, you know.
All right, well, let's go ahead and raise our hand and vote for Steve. I'm just doing it electronically.
Yep, Catherine says yes too.
Okay, I think that was unanimous.
So since there are 9 board members, I should be putting down 9 out of 11 for every one of the nominations.
It seems that way, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sean too.
Okay, I'm lowering my hand. Thank you, Steve. All right, we have a board. Congratulations, everybody. Steve, if we see you driving around in a new car, we know that it won't be because you're treasurer of this organization.
It's just because my children have crashed in another car. Yeah.
We got our eyes on you, Steve.
So this goes to the committee chairs. You'll notice in my bullet points, I divided public safety out from parking and transportation. That's a mistake. It's I didn't change the committees. It's still public safety, parking, and transportation. I have been trying to get David up to speed on planning and zoning. I'm perfectly willing to give up my position on there. I think having Jerry on there might be important just from institutional knowledge standpoint, but we do need a board member. I mean, David, do you think you're ready for it, or do you want me to serve as planning committee chair again?
I would prefer, given the complexity and the activity that's going on in planning right now, that if you don't mind retaining that position. I think it worked very well for what we've been through in the last year.
Do you still want to be involved?
I do. I still want to be a
Okay.
committee member.
All right. You're right. It is a lot of work, especially recently. So my nominations are for myself and for Jerry Powell. In fact, for the most part, I don't know if Vadim is even interested in serving on the committee because he's just so darn busy, Tiffany. Should it just be you on the public safety, parking and transportation? Is there someone else that you?
Great question you asked that. Actually, I text messaged him right now because he is running for an elected position somewhere in the city. And so I would love it if someone would step up to support me as well. And he could be a part of that committee, but I think, what do you think, Scott? How many people? It would be nice to have someone else probably.
Well, I mean, it could be maybe a non-official person. It could be an official person too. I mean, Linda, Laura, do you have any interest in serving in?
So is that to
committee?
be a member of the committee or a co-chair?
No, a co-chair. Co-chair.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel, pretty good about parking and transportation, but not so much for public safety because it's all lumped in together. So
So
Well,
Lori, can I ask a favor? Because I'm not strong with parking and transportation. Could we forge a relationship? Because don't you think, Scott, that sometimes I think that parking, transportation, and public safety need to be separated due to the times of Portland right now. So there's so much bandwidth I have. So in the past I had Doug, who was more, I would say, okay, you focus on parking and transportation, but is that more of your strong suit, parking and transportation?
well, I'm just a lay person, but I feel it's kind of more of an approachable topic for me. And just with what's going on in the neighborhood, I mean, I have a personal interest in parking and transportation, given what's going to happen here on Block 7. And, Scott was mentioning all these other projects that have been deferred. I mean, it's going to be crazy around here if we have all this construction going on at once.
Yeah.
well, Laurie, I think that's a perfect marriage then, because your interest and Tiffany's strength on the public safety part, between the two of you, I think you'll have all the aspects covered. So if you don't mind, I'm going to nominate you and Tiffany to co-chair that organization. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Scott, just to clarify, I think Vadim is a great asset in regards to public safety as well. When it comes to writing letters and stuff like that, can he still be a part of our committee? He's just not a co-chair, or can we still nominate him to write a letter? I mean, if you ever watched him.
Absolutely. I think just given his schedule and availability, it makes sense to not burden him with co-chairmanship, but I would love for him to remain as a member and a participant in there. And if he can write a letter and put his well-known name to it, then that would be all the best as well.
Great, thank you. I look forward to working with you, Lori.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Yes, so Laurie, just to let you know, there are emails sent to livability@goosehollow.org, and that gets sent to the chairs. So after this meeting, I'm going to go ahead and send an email to Anastasia at Neighbors West Northwest and tell them who the new chairs are of the different committees. And so your email will then be added as a forward from livability@goosehollow.org. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Just like Jerry and I will be planning at goosehollow.org. So those are just shorthand. So we have those email addresses so that when the participants change, that it's very easy to just kind of change who those redirects are going to if we have new officers or new chairs.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Stadium Oversight, if someone wants to join, Jerry is currently sitting on the committee, but I don't know if anybody else is interested in also participating. Stadium Oversight, anybody?
Can you kind of explain more what that is?
So the stadium has an operating agreement that impacts our neighborhood, and their operating agreement is not entirely settled yet. And for any disputes, they have this community committee of, I think, 5 people now that make decisions about the direction of the operating agreement. And so Jerry is the representative of the, is one of those 5 people. anyone that we nominate to be a co-chair with him of the Stadium Oversight Committee would not be a member of that committee of 5. That's a separate committee that deals with the city. So it would be kind of, it's not necessary that we have a co-chair, but if you want to have a little bit of oversight of what Jerry is doing and participate in some meetings, perhaps just as a listener, then you can go ahead and do so, and we'll nominate you as co-chair. Is anybody interested? I'm not seeing anybody jump at it. So we'll just go ahead and keep Jerry on the Stadium Oversight Committee. We can change that at any time. We don't need to make final decisions now. So if somebody next month says, yeah, I've changed my mind and I want to be on that committee, then we can go ahead and talk about it next month.
Scott, I like how you said we could talk about it next month. Just to bring awareness, sometimes that stadium oversight overlaps with safety and livability of Goose Hollow, that chair, because if you've got an unruly situation out there, right? For example, the screaming fan that's out there bugging everybody in the neighborhood. I got emails on that person that was just upset with the championship fan, right? Because we had a lot of camping this week, and we're just so thrilled about the championship game because it brought tourism and normalcy to our neighborhood and business and just a happy, good environment, but also it's safety and livability impact. So of course, and I was dealing with the stadium as well, and in the people in the community, and not all of them are members. So if we don't have I would love it if someone stepped up into that role a little bit more than Jerry, to be with Jerry as well, because we need someone out there on the safety livability group that manages that as well. Because then I end up having to reach out to Jerry and say, hey, Jerry, while you're at these meetings, can you let them know what we're doing in the area? Like, for example, the Stadium Oversight needs to know that after the game, the whole neighborhood was trashed out. And I got email after email of people upset. There's trash everywhere. They cleaned before the game, but they didn't clean after the game. And then today I had to run Sol volunteers to clean through the area of where the Timber Stadium is. And that's Oversight Committee work right there. Right. So anyway, there's just in a nutshell kind of the overlap. So I think it's fascinating, and they're a good group to work with as well. So don't be shy to step up and work with that committee. It's fun. And maybe they'll even give you some free tickets too.
There you go, a little benefit. Lastly, the committee is for Neighbors West Northwest. We have in the past few years said that the president is going to be the representative and the vice president is the backup. So there's no reason to change that. And frankly, I wouldn't wish disappointment on my worst enemy, at least at the moment. I know it's going to turn around. It can't get any worse, and that hopefully there are things that are going to be better. So there's a lot of stuff happening in that organization, and I'll try to see it through. If anybody wants some insight into what's going on, I'm happy to discuss it, and I'll give a short preview today. So
Scott, I just have one.
You're the backup. Tiffany, is that okay? You're the backup.
Yes, that's fine. We'll just continue what we've been doing.
Okay. I mean, you can hand it off to somebody else, and we can have like Linda take it.
If
Thanks.
anybody wants to step up, that's fine. I don't need to covet that spot. So Scott, anybody step up. If not, I'll be the fall woman.
Well, after my introduction of the worst enemy thing, I'm sure Linda she's about ready to turn off her camera and leave the meeting, I think, if I was going to appoint her to. Linda, you don't have an interest in Neighbors West Northwest, do you?
No, actually, I'm just coming up to speed on how things operate. And so that's why I've been a little quiet. I'm kind of a board member at large right now. Although my primary areas of interest are in the planning and the safety and livability. So I'll probably attend both of those meetings.
Good. Well, we'll keep you heavily involved in those as well, kind of like we did with David. So you can see some of the behind the scenes stuff and maybe come participate in some of our meetings with city staff.
Right.
Not meetings, so that would be great.
Yeah, I can do that for sure.
Okay.
So Scott,
So-
you wanted me to take notes. So I have down here, that you won 9 out of 11 votes, Tiffany 9 out of 11, secretary is David 9 out of 11, and treasurer Steve 9 out of 11. Is there anything more that I need to write for notes that you wanted?
Yeah, the committee chairs.
Yeah, can we go over that again real fast? planning and zoning and.
Actually, Dave, since David is the new secretary, he can just start writing notes. David, do you have a feel for who the different committee chairs are?
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, so Sherry, I relieve you of your temporary duty. Just go ahead and send your notes to David, and then he will take it from here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Thanks, Sherry.
thanks.
You're
Sherry.
welcome. Okay, that's fine. So I just send it on the, when it's after this is over, he doesn't need it right away, right, Dave?
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. I am stuck. I don't remember if our bylaws require that we have a vote to accept the committee appointments. Does anybody happen to remember?
You could just move a motion and we can just second them.
Okay, well, we'll just do it just in case. So I'm gonna move that we accept the committee appointments. Somebody want to second that?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand.
Aye.
I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Yes. Here we go. Wait a minute. Raise
Okay,
hand.
I'm guessing that is,
Oh, I can put my little hand up.
I'm guessing that is then unanimous for everyone who is here. So again, another 9 in favor and 2 non-voted. Is not being here. Okay. All right, thank you. We were going to approve minutes. Again, Vadim, our previous secretary, has just been so overwhelmed with running for office. We don't have them yet. When we do, we'll go ahead and bring them up for discussion and a vote. David, do you have anything to add for the treasurer's report? Moving on there. Did you have a chance to review some of the information?
Yeah. Yeah, let me just, I'll tell you what I have. There's almost no changes at all. Our savings is $5,125.84. That's a massive change of 4 cents. And our Goose Hollow Foothills League checking remains the same at $1,679.70. And the only other thing that I could probably use some input on is our bottle return account. I don't know if Tiffany, if you have any comments on that. I don't have visibility on that account.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Bridget told me to, once we figured out who the treasurer was, I'd send you the login information, and I'm on the bottle drop account just for the month of December 1st. The ending balance of the bottle drop is $106.42, and no, nothing has been withdrawn from this account for the past month. Actually, for the last 2 months. The only time money was withdrawn was $246.88 for the
Sharps
needle
containers,
sharp
right?
containers. Yeah. So, and that was approved by the board. So, and I have a screenshot. I sent it in an email, and I have some lovely pictures of some volunteers passing out the Sharps containers out there in Goose Hollow. So, I just don't know how to share it on this screen, but I'll share it with the treasurer.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, great. Moving on to the board emails exchange this month. We really haven't had any. Does anybody remember any emails of importance that we should bring up publicly? I don't think there has been any. Just basically discussions about reporting the results of the election, and I think most of that was made public. So unless somebody has something to add, we'll just go ahead and move on. New business. I only have one. We are going to talk about the whole Block 7 thing later during the planning meeting, but for new business, there's a deadline coming up on small grants. The deadline is January 13th. You may remember that around this time earlier this year, so January 2021, that we applied for and got a small grant for postcards that we were going to be sending out to the neighborhood. And Marlene was running that, but she dropped off the board, and so we were kind of up against the deadline. And we couldn't spend the money in time. That's always the problem with these type of things. So that if the money is not spent by, I think, the end of July, maybe the end of June, that it goes away. And so if we are going to do this again, apply for it with a postcard, we already have the artwork, we've already paid an award to the Lincoln High School student who did the artwork. We've gotten started on some of the content of the postcard. And if we know that we're going to be doing Goose Hollow Days, maybe a little bit earlier, that we can put some of that information on the postcard and send it out. So, but our opportunity for applying for this grant is coming up soon. So does anybody have any interest in taking this on?
Jump in here for a second.
Yeah, Catherine.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I just wanted to provide an update on this. I said it's for review. Some just kind of link for it and taking some things up.
Catherine, I can't make out your speech. It's garbled.
On the back of the postcard, particularly.
Is anybody else having trouble?
Yes.
Yes, it seems like Catherine might be far away from a cell tower.
Yeah, I think we lost her.
Catherine, is there some way?
I'm so sorry.
Okay, that sounds
Can't hear
better.
me?
Yes, sounds
Now
much
you
better.
can.
People over. Okay, great. Sorry, I'll just start over. Yeah, I'm out there right now. So I rewrote this grant and submitted it to Anastasia Zerker for review, actually, to get her opinion on what she thought about it if we've applied for it. And she gave me some great feedback, excuse me, about kind of tightening it up and being a little bit more clear in the content and in the writing of it, which I'm happy to do and feel really good about. And we have the front of the postcard designed, like you said, it's great. It is from a high school student, and I'd love to follow through on our commitment to her and get it out there. But the back of the postcard is really where we could use some support. And she gave me a bit of feedback. And so you all can, anybody has ideas, you can email that to me. But also if anybody wants to kind of jump in here and help, I could really use some support just around, yeah, the back of the card and kind of cleaning that up a little bit. The other part of that, and Scott, I know you helped with this earlier on in the year, but helping to design the back of it and move things around in the back of the postcard, that is not something that I have experience with. So anybody else who's willing to jump in and be able to do that would be greatly appreciated, because I would love to submit this. It's already written. We just need a few extra things to be good to go.
Great. I should also make the point, Catherine, that we have some updated cost figures, because they're more than what we got the grant for. And I think if we apply for the grant again, we're probably going to have to ask for more money, simply because it costs more money to send the cards and print them out. Is that kind of what your impression is?
Yeah, and that part's actually also done already. I've spoken with a printing company. It's a local company, and we have an arrangement kind of from start to finish, including mailing them out and everything. And that was part of the application. It was entirely complete that I submitted to Anastasia just for review. And we didn't get any pushback on that part of it from her, which I would have expected had she thought that that was unreasonable.
That's great. So does
So-
anybody
yeah,
have
so
any graphic design skills or experience, or desktop publishing, or
Sadly, no.
what's that, Laurie?
Oh, sadly, no.
Oh,
No skills there. Well, I have a question. I have a couple questions. So this postcard, is it to go out to everybody in the neighborhood, sort of like a Goose Hollow advertisement postcard? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it is, and I can send you, I can send it to you if you'd like to look at it. But yes, it's a postcard to go out to every member in the community. And it was originally designed to, there was talk about, like Scott mentioned earlier, drawing people's attention to Goose Hollow Days. We talked about making it a ticket at some point, and then ultimately decided on kind of commissioning a high school student to do the front of it for us. And the back right now, we have a couple of different versions, but the background right now has some things to do with Block 7. I'm just pulling up the email to see what Anastasia said. She just, she wants it to be something that's more than, hey, just please join the Goose Hollow Foothills League, which was also a big part of that message, to draw attention to us and the things that we're doing and what we have in our scope right now.
Yeah, Catherine, I think that's really important. And I don't have any of those skills, but I have been known to play around with graphics design and things like that. So I can help. You've got the grant.
That'd be so great.
You had the grant already written, the grant proposal written and ready to go?
Yeah, it's already written and ready to go. I have one section that she gave me some feedback on that I have to shorten down to 2 paragraphs. I think it's at like 3 paragraphs right now, but the whole thing is ready to go. It's really just figuring out what to put on the back of the card and how to make it look the way we want it to look.
Sure, I'm in.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Linda.
Well, I'm on my way out of town, but I will, I'll email it to you and you can take a look at it and we'll make sure to touch base. Thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
And the card will need to be done by February or March?
No, it is, I think, pretty soon. I actually don't have the exact date. Tiffany, I know that you put this on the agenda. Do you recall the exact date? It's like January 8th, maybe?
I think we lost Tiffany.
So,
January 13th.
so
Sorry, I'm
January
looking on
13th.
my.
right,
Thank
January 13th for the application. But as far as the postcard being designed and sent out, if that's what we're going to be using it for, that doesn't need to happen until June or possibly even July.
Right.
Yeah,
So there's lots of
yeah. At
Right.
the very least, we need to just make sure, I would like to be able to submit kind of another back of the postcard so they have an idea of where we're headed now that I got this feedback from Anastasia, but I don't think that part of it needs to be a finished product. The thing that needs
Yeah.
to be polished is really just the message we're trying to send and what things will be on there.
Okay, you may, all right. So I got it. I can do it.
Great, thank you so much. I'll connect with you next week sometime, but again, I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Wow, that's great. I appreciate it. Good job. Okay. So let's go to committee reports. We are almost done. Public safety, parking and transportation. Tiffany, do you have anything to report? Any updates?
Yes. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if we did not have a safety livability meeting in the month of December. Goose Hollow will be hosting the next one, and it's the third Wednesday of every month at 5:30. We share it with the other 5 neighborhoods of downtown. So last month, Northwest District hosted it. So it's Goose Hollow's turn. So I'm hoping to get a really great guest speaker to come to our neighborhood to speak on issues that are important to us. And currently in the hopper, I have, maybe someone to talk about the new meth that's out on the street. And I reached out to Unity to see if I could get a doctor to talk a little bit further about what we're seeing out on our street right now with substance abuse on the street, or maybe Built for Zero, Keith Wilson's presentation, which I was just blown away about. So if you do come to the safety livability meeting, I'm gonna get a great guest speaker out there. But in regards to public safety livability for Goose Hollow, today was actually our day. We had a trash cleanup for Goose Hollow, so hopefully you saw it out there a little bit cleaner. We did have our championship soccer game this last weekend, and that was just so cool, wasn't it? Everybody, raise your hand if you're a part of that, or just saw the excitement in the air and the camping and the yes. And I mean, all of Portland actually watched our neighborhood, and that kind of felt good for once that we brought something good out there in the news. Anyway, so it was good to see that. So trash abatement was huge. Areas of concern were obviously around the stadium, but the Mill Street Tunnel area, 18th area, has been hit extra hard with trash. So today I was out there doing outreach efforts and trash abatement, and I was working with our unsheltered people as well. And while I was doing trash abatement, I was also asking if they needed the helping hand up into the shelters. You're going to see now with the colder weather, people are starting to struggle. It's cold, really cold. I think we had some frost this week as well, maybe even some snow in the hillside right there. For some of you on this call who might not be aware, I've been working with Radio Cab for that monthly invoice to get people a shelter, a ride, a transportation ride from Goose Hollow to, say, the Greyhound shelter, or maybe a hospital, or Unity if it's a substance abuse. But I'm hoping to get our first candidate this month. I don't expect a lot of people to use the services, but when we see snow and cold weather, we start to see suffering out there. And so I'm hoping our neighborhood could have a couple good transports on our to report next month. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Nothing really happened in Bottle Drop, but if some of the new members here, if you want blue bags to put your pop cans in or your recycle cans in, please reach out to me and I'll deliver some to you or to your condo building for your next door neighbors. If you put your bottles in these blue fundraiser bags for Goose Hollow, they go out to the street. The money is used for safe relocations and trash abatement and cleanup of our neighborhood, and whatever you all suggest that helps our neighborhood. Sorry, it's family time behind me, and I've got kids behind me. Couple other things worth mentioning is tomorrow, actually, I think I'm sorry, December 18th, our North Portland neighborhoods are putting on a Christmas event in downtown Portland to help the families and children that have been impacted by gun violence. And that's December 18th from 2 to 5 at 309 Southwest. Oops, I forgot to put it. I wrote 309 Southwest Avenue, 97204, somewhere in downtown. But if you want to donate unwrapped presents to kids that have been impacted by gun violence, please reach out to me, PM message me, and I'll send you the flyer. But I don't know if any of you on this call, a lot of us already donate to good causes, but if you don't have a place that you that you don't already have somewhere to donate presents to, I think that right now with Portland, gun violence is huge. And we are even seeing it in downtown as well. So let's reach out to those families that have been impacted. And I think that's pretty much it. Please report on PDX Reporter. And if you have any safety liability concerns, let me know. And then also encourage people to do the monthly solve cleanups for our Goose Hollow neighborhood. Thank you.
Hey, Tiffany, I have a question for you.
Yep.
And Linda, I guess you can go after, but it's about the blue bags. So normally when we do bottle drops, we use green bags and we have to put a little like QR sticker on them and they scan them and say, oh, this is Scott Schaefer's account. Is there something like that for the blue bags that we need a special sticker on them to go to indicate that they should be going to Goose Hollow?
Yes, green bags are usually cash bags. They're just for individuals. But when you're an organization like Goose Hollow Foothills League, you're fundraising, you're a blue bag, and you have a special sticker code that goes on it. So you have to get the code stickers from me. So, I mean, if you could have the bags, that's great, but you need the stickers from me. So actually, oddly enough, right behind me, I have the blue bags. And I also have trash bags that I've been using to hand out to our unsheltered people to put trash in as well, because it takes a whole village to clean up the trash. So please reach out to me for those bottle drop bags. In the past, I used to set up 2 places or 3 places in Goose Hollow to go get those bags. It was the Hoff, the Goose Hollow Inn. It was also Super Joy Coffee, and it was also the Soup over by Burnside, you know, kind of 3 different geographic locations for our residents to go get those blue bags from. But because of COVID, it was becoming an issue. And then I just dropped the ball at that point because remember with the restaurants, they were only not letting people inside the door. So it was really hard for people to get to the bags. But now that our community is opening back up, I may go back to those 3 locations to get the bags to them. But in the meantime, I could also drop bags by your place as well. Or if anybody has a better idea of where we should keep these bottle drop bags, besides the 3 places I said, I need some help too, like restocking them as well. I do a lot of stuff for the neighborhood. So this is just kind of, I need a lot of help. So let's see, Linda, I think Lori, you're my partner on this. Maybe this is something you can help me with as well, making sure that we keep our bottle drop bags stocked in the neighborhood. I don't know.
Tiffany, I have a question for you. The reason this is not related to exactly to what you were talking about. You were talking about bringing some like gifts and to these groups. One of the things that I've been made aware of recently is that there's a critical need for people to donate socks and hats and gloves and that sort of thing. And since you're a mom, young mom, I'm thinking that maybe you would know where to get things. Where would you suggest I buy things that has a good and that I could donate? What do you recommend?
I actually, you read my mind. Today, I was on the phone all day long today trying to track down coats. And I was working with Blanche House and Union Gospel Mission. We have a coat shortage right now. It's not the socks and the hats. I mean, those are great too, don't get me wrong. But today I was in Goose Hollow over off of 14th and Montgomery, and I had a woman who did not have a coat on. and she was barely dressed, and she obviously looked mind altered, right? And I was trying to get her a shelter, but most importantly, she needed a coat. And I was feverishly trying to work around trying to find coats. If I could get our Goose Hollow area to get coats, that's huge right now. Because I called around at the shelters, and our winter crisis shelters haven't been opened yet. The temperature need, I don't know, they have criteria of at what temperature it drops, and then they open up certain places. They haven't done it yet, even with the cold snap we saw this week. And then I called Arbor Lodge, which the county's been just so proud about for the winter shelter site, and the Greyhound. They have a 3-month wait list for those locations, and I went, wow, that's not going to work either. So coats are really important right now. And there's ways of working around getting people off the street, but it's not those sites that the county are providing at this point. It's, you know, your Union Gospel missions and some other alternative places, but coats are huge. So I was wondering, can we use the bottle drop money for coats by chance? Could we vote on that? Like maybe say spend, I don't know, $60 on coats and distribute them to our Goose Hollow folks that are out unhoused?
Can
Is
I
that
just,
even-
I just wanted to make a comment about that, Tiffany. I noticed that the thrift store that was on Burnside, that, what do you call it? Was it the Salvation Army or the Goodwill? I forget which one it was. It was the Goodwill. It closed. I just blew my mind. So the only other one I know around is that one, the William Temple House. So, I mean, obviously we can't go out and buy brand new coats. That's a fortune. But if we could go and get them at one of these thrift stores, what do you think?
I agree with you. I was actually just at Union Gospel Mission off of Highway 99, because I absolutely think that Union Gospel Mission out of Old Town Chinatown is fantastic, and I wanted to support their thrifts. And I actually bought used coats and shoes 2 weeks ago from there. So, and they do have a great stock of coats. I just I use Old Town's money for that. I just want to know if Goose Hollow probably want to do the same as well. So, what's your thoughts, board?
I think go for it. I mean, I was going to suggest for myself, you know, just what I was going to do is just buy inexpensive socks. I happened to be over at Walgreens, and I noticed they had a bin of socks. So I thought about, you know, inexpensive socks. But you're saying that that I should be focusing in on coats. That's really the most critical thing. And I imagine shoes. My God, you know, not having shoes and it's raining and cold. Horrible.
Shoes and coats and sleeping bags that provide under 30 degrees are huge right now. And sadly, that's what they're asking for right now, is those kind of things. And hand warmers, the hand hotties. So when I do outreach over in Old Town, I'm spending about $60 a month on hand warmers, and then shoes. I bought 6 pairs of shoes, and they're used shoes. I bought 2 new pairs of boots for that area over there. But like today, I was in Goose Hollow and I saw the woman. I looked down at her feet. She was wearing slides without socks, like little sandals on her feet, and her feet were red. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is not good. So, and people in Goose Hollow community will start to see this. I'm sure you haven't, if not already, with the cold snap. People are inappropriately dressed.
Well, so Tiffany, you can go ahead and raise a motion. I think the only comment that I would make is that we're already kind of on the hook for car rides for these people, right? And so I don't know what our budget is for that, but if we put $60 toward coats, does that mean that we're going to overdraft on our bottle drop funds?
So I need to talk to Bridget. She got a $200 donation for our bottle drop, and so we have $100, right? Sorry, I'm looking for the ledger really quick here.
106. Yeah.
106. Thank you. I'm not the best with money. You could ask my husband, but the board, go ahead and talk about this, because we have the $200 that Bridget is going to put towards our fundraising efforts for outreach, and then we have the $106, and we're in the month of December. So does anybody have any input on how you'd like to spend this money in the time of need right now?
Well,
and by the way,
the
just
time
for
to spend it
perspective-
is now for sure. So why don't you put a motion on the table?
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say, just to let all of you know, transporting people out of Goose Hollow to a shelter is probably an average ride of about $20 to $30. I would only guess maybe we're going to probably transport 2 people this month. So I'd say let's shoot for coats are on average about $18 a piece at Union Gospel Missions thrift store. So say 15 to 20 bucks. So 20, 40, 60 will get us 3 jackets, 20, 40, 60, 80. How about we get, how about, can we spend $100 on jackets, used jackets? And I'm not talking about high-end jackets here. $100, we'll see how much that could get us, unless you guys have a different.
No, that's a good way to put it. You could just say, spend up to $100 from the bottle drop fund on used jackets, and then that would limit.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
second that. Just see where that gets us and we can see how that looks. Because
Okay.
we'll be meeting again in January and it'll
Yes.
still be cold then.
Right, right. But the
Sure.
time to get them is definitely now. Does, any discussion on this?
Oh, I think it's a terrific idea and wanted to commend you, Tiffany, for, your leadership on this and, bringing to our attention this really dire circumstance that we're in right now. The thought I had too, and I'm wondering if any of these stores in the neighborhood, would be willing to give stuff, like, for example, some of these stores that, at the end of the season, they can't sell stuff or use stuff, old stock from last year. It's been sitting on a sale rack and nobody buys it. Would people be willing to donate that, some of these jackets?
Sherry, would you be willing, and all of us on this board can make a phone call too. I mean, this is the time of giving and stuff, and we could reach out to our favorite businesses and ask, could you give a few coats? I mean, you're all residents of Goose Hollow and we see what's happening outside the door. And I think, bottle drop is great for that essential up to 100. But if each one of you on this call can bring in maybe jacket, or if you have used shoes in your closet, size 10.5 men's, women is typically 8s. I went through my husband's closet this month as well, because shoes are so huge right now. Warm shoes, boots, something to keep the heat in. That's helpful too. So you don't have to necessarily buy something, but just donate something, and then maybe we could find a spot that we could collect it at, and I'll swing by and grab it, and then I can distribute it pretty quickly.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the table. I want to just bring an end of discussion on this. We can have continuing discussion on our own efforts to try to talk to stores and try to get the extra coats. But for now, it's $100 out of the bottle drop. All in favor, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's everybody who's still on the call. I know that Catherine and Sean have dropped off. They have well-deserved vacation. I was amazed that they were able to join us anyway. So thank you, everyone. Stadium Oversight, I wish Jerry said that he might be here. Oh, Catherine is trying to rejoin. Jerry has some explaining to do, but we'll go ahead and get some more information from him on Stadium Oversight and ask him about how the game went and whether we can get our neighborhood back. So let's put that on the agenda for next month and talk about it, because it's an important issue. Planning and zoning, the only thing that I wanted to bring up is kind of summarize what's happened with Block 7. So we had a meeting in front of City Council. It lasted approximately 3 hours. There was plenty of testimony, including the attorney that was engaged by Friends of Goose Hollow that was acting on behalf of the neighborhood. A lot of nice discussion. And it turns out that the only one that was in support of our position was Joanne Hardesty. So it was a 4-to-1 vote against. The next step is that a written report will be issued responding to all of the issues on appeal. That likely won't be available and approved until January 12th or so. And then once that report is approved, that starts the clock running for an appeal to LUBA of 21 days. So what we're looking at is still the end of January before we have to act in any huge fashion on this issue again. So there's nothing to do over the next few weeks, but there is another appeal that can possibly be filed in front of LUBA. Again, it's just like this was, it's a long shot. So does anybody have any questions about that process or what went on during the City Council meeting or Block 7?
I have a question, a clarification question, Scott. Appeal in front of who? You said Beulah.
LUBA.
LUBA, LUBA.
Oh, what
Land
is it?
use, it's the Land Use Board of Appeals. So
Okay.
it's a state organization.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, Scott, I had a question about the LUBA. So is this going to cost us more money? I mean, are we going to have our attorney involved in it, or the Friends of Goose Hollow? Are they going to have their attorney? What is the deal with that?
Well, so the Friends of Goose Hollow have been paying, that organization has been paying, the neighborhood is not paid. I mean, if we were going to, as a neighborhood association, hire an attorney, it would cost money, thousands of dollars. And it's not something that we would take on our own. It would definitely be a vote of the board, because it's a huge expense when we only have, a little over $5,000 to spend. Over half of that or all of that on an attorney for a single project is a huge expense. But I think there's a lot of people backing it in the Friends of Goose Hollow, and so they are bearing the expense. The one thing that the neighborhood organization does is that if we're filing the appeal, that the appeal fee gets waived. And that's why, one of the main reasons why we were involved in the appeal process, even though most of the people driving the appeal were Friends of Goose Hollow folks. Does that answer your question, Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's kind of shocking. I didn't, and the other thing that Steve and I were reading about in the Northwest Examiner, Alan sitting right there, is just how something, in many ways, there's parallels to what happened in the Pearl District, that they're, just mind-boggling, the neighbors be damned what they want, and just they're going to ram through this thing through, and
Right.
it's just shocking to me. It's like the neighborhood association doesn't even exist. It's like we're persona non grata or whatever. I mean, it's just shocking to me, really.
Well, if I can kind of summarize my impression of the way it went, the commissioners have a lot of other issues on their plate. And so hearing about a very specific project in a very specific neighborhood is probably last on their list. They're probably wondering why all of them had to spend 3 hours on a particular day on a very particular project. So it seemed to me that what most of them were interested in is, did the design commission consider all the issues? That's all.
That's it.
Because all those that asked the question were like, we raised the issue of parking, the interpretation of the parking zoning statute. And I think Commissioner Maps had said, well, did the design commission consider that? And the city's planner basically said, yes, they did. They really didn't. But that's all that the city council was interested in. Did they follow the formalities and consider the issues? And if so, the city council's not the expert, design commission is, so they took their word for it. Linda.
Yeah, I got a slightly different impression, Scott, that I'd like to add to. The conclusions that they drew, and I have to say, don't quote me, Alan, that a lot of them look like they were deer in the headlights, honestly. But they said, did the design commission follow the design guidelines? And basically, the design guidelines do not cover parking or traffic. It's out of the scope of the design guidelines. And even the report said that. So things like pedestrian safety and the increased traffic were not even considered. And I think Ted Wheeler at the end of the council meeting said that, asked Joanne Hardesty, I think, to go back and look at this fact. So I think it's a real breakdown in the design guidelines or the design requirements of the city not to consider traffic and pedestrian safety. And I know, Sherry, you were really interested in trees, and that just wasn't even on the table, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's just really it's devastating. It really is. I mean, I was thinking about this just the other day. I mean, but the reservoir knocked down about 160 trees.
Yeah.
The Japanese garden knocked down another 100 trees. These are mature trees we're talking about, by the way, with a nice trunk. Then we've had all of the trees that were knocked down on Lincoln High School grounds. and the Butler blocks and others. And then there are trees that just die. And then there are people in the neighborhood who have large trees, and they get some tree man to come out there and say, oh, well, yeah, this has to go. I mean, we're dealing with that right now in the condo about we're fighting over a tree. The net result is we're having these heat domes, which are not going away. The fires are not going away. And the carbon sequestration is just diminished to practically nothing. I mean, we're just going to choke to death on the smoke, on the heat. It's just creating a hell. I mean, it's just miserable. And it makes me so angry that the trees are just not considered valuable. And this hearing this discussion about the city council, I mean, and about the design commission. I mean, I had this image in my mind of the Titanic. Well, they're saying, well, the windows met code, and it looks like the anchor was in good shape. I mean, it's just,
it's a flaw for sure.
What was the word you used?
Flaw. It's a
Oh,
flaw
flaw.
in the code.
Yeah.
Well,
Short-sighted.
we'll have time to talk about this at the next board meeting. Again, by that time, the report will probably be issued and approved by City Council, which again starts the clock running. So we'll go ahead and address it at that time.
And thank you, Scott, for all the work you put into it, by the way.
Well, it's not over yet, but you know, that's the job that we have, right? So I couldn't do it without all the support of everybody who's interested in giving their time and energy to it. So
Yes, and thank you, Scott, and be sure and thank your lovely wife for all the work that she puts into. Tracy just is a treasure, and she just spends an enormous amount of time on all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And Tiffany, thank you so much for speaking up on the behalf of our unsheltered folks and bringing this to light.
Yeah. All right. Moving to Neighbors West Northwest. The issue with Alan wasn't even discussed at the last meeting. We just saw Alan's wife, and that's kind of the only result that we had of that discussion. And it was nice to see her, but we would love to see Alan at the meeting. And by we, I mean just me and maybe Steve, because the other people voted against that issue. I think they're ruining their vote and they're hearing from their neighbors, but you know, it is what it is, and we'll find out later. The current issue at play is one of the board members is being accused of creating a hostile work environment for Neighbors West Northwest staff. And so there was I can't even call it a hearing. There was a discussion of issues at the Neighbors West Northwest meeting, at which there was an attorney on there hired by the coalition who was reading from a 4-page opinion written by an HR organization. And it wasn't even read in total, it was just basically summarized. And the end result is we got no new information about what was being complained about, and yet we were being asked to vote on whether to move the complaint on to the next stage. And so the motion was, do you accept the report as written? I voted no, because we had no information to accept the findings of the report. You just had to take the person's word for it that they were correct. And so I voted no. The representative from Northwest District Association, NWDA, also voted no, and I believe some other organization did as well. I don't happen to remember which one, but the majority voted yes. And so next month we're going to have a hearing about it, and I'm on the subcommittee to try to put together a procedure for how we're going to do that. So if anybody wants to participate in the next Neighbors West Northwest meeting, you're welcome to do it. I encourage you to do it. Bring body armor and maybe some vodka.
It's some vodka.
Does anybody have any questions about Neighbors West?
Thank you, Scott. I thought you did a great job of representing the Goose Hollow Foothills League. I respectfully declined to be in there and left Scott to deal with that. And I say thank you, Scott. I thought you did such a good job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And that's it for the meeting. I want to open it up to anyone who might have a question or a comment from the neighborhood. I know James and Michelle are still as part of this meeting, so I want to invite them to, to maybe turn on their camera or their microphone and say something if they wish to. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and call the meeting. Does anybody have anything else to raise?
The only thing I wanted to bring up, Scott, was that, and this is, it can be anytime, we had talked about having a permanent Goose Hollow Days committee that meets on a regular basis, instead of just waiting till the last minute like we've been doing, which would make it a lot better. So I don't know where that's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know if the rest of you know that the Zion Lutheran folks have left for another church. And so they are.
No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
If they haven't left yet, they will be leaving, I think, in the next week. And they're going to Fresno. And so, unfortunately, they've been great friends to the neighborhood and done amazing work as part of the Goose Hollow Days committee. So we're just going to have to get to know the new folks and get them involved because they've just been of great service. But that's a great point. I'm sure if you have any thoughts on that, let's maybe not discuss it here because it's so far in the future, but let's give some thought to how we're going to do that. And James, I see that you turned on your camera, so you're welcome to just say anything that you want.
I just thought I'd say hi. I just got out there at the beginning of fall, started PSU's urban planning program, master's. So looking forward to listening and
Sunday's program.
connecting. So
James, have you signed up for future mailings so that you know when the meetings are going to be held and what the Zoom links are? Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So sounds good. Yeah.
Welcome.
James, are you a graduate in the graduate program at PSU in the urban studies?
Yep, in the urban and regional planning.
And regional planning.
Program.
So let knowledge serve the city.
Yeah.
Hey, James, I'm so excited to see your face here and someone that is from our community. What area of Goose Hollow do you reside in?
I'm in that Sawbuck, right by on that corner, like the triangle.
The new place
building.
right across from the Lincoln High School building.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
How is it?
I know where that is.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Ah,
Were you able to see the soccer game from your?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Fantastic.
Wow.
And the penalty shootout was the perfect line of sight, so it was great.
Amazing. So I have one story about the game, and then we can go ahead and call it unless Alan has something he wants to say. So we were trying to get tickets the entire week, and they're just kind of insane prices, and the weather was terrible. So we ended up watching it at our house, and then opening up one of the back windows of our house so that we could hear the cheers from the stadium. And so if you remember the game, New York scored an early goal, right? And so you kept on waiting for the comeback. And then it was in extra time. And then in the 94th minute, they scored. So we're watching on TV. We had the window open. I was listening out the window and I heard this roar from the crowd. Now, there's a delay of about 20 seconds between what's happening live and what's happening on the TV. So I said to my daughter and her friend and my son who were watching the game, I said, I think something great happened, because you can tell a difference between a home team goal and like a away team goal, that kind of stuff. And sure enough, I rushed to the TV and we saw the goal. So it was really awesome to see that. And it's only too bad that after that great comeback in the last second that they lost it in the penalty shootout. So it's really too bad. But
I have something also to finish. I was in a meeting tonight with Commissioner Dan Ryan prior to this, and I came in hot. He was so proud of Goose Hollow and the Timbers Stadium, and it made me. And he was talking about how he was at that game, and I told him that how important our community is to get back on track again with safety and livability and tourism and customers and the residentials and the PSU population as well. Thank gosh we have our students back too. COVID is what put Goose Hollow in a weird situation, and it's so good to be back and see our commissioners also supporting our neighborhood as well. And just wanted to say that it was great. So PSU does not, do you know, James, since you're a PSU student, do they plan on bringing even more students onto the campus? Or do you think that they're going to telecommute or Zoom more of these students? Like, what's your take on how many students are going to be at the campus in the next year?
Well, they're doing a lot of like, they call it attend anywhere, where people can choose if they want to come in person or not. So I'd imagine it'll stay probably similar to this fall, at least for a little while.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to us getting back to normal. Frankly, I mean, as much as Zoom is convenient and I'm sitting in my chair in my pajamas or whatever it is that I'm wearing, I really want to have in-person meetings. I mean, I just miss being in your presence. I remember, I think, David, did I first meet you in person at the picnic this summer after dealing with you all these months?
Yeah, that's when you found out I wasn't 6'4".
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Scott, is it possible to have the next meeting somewhere, provided people, show up at the door and they have their vaccination card with booster and their ID and they wear a mask? Can we do that next at the, like we do at the Schnitz? We went to the Schnitz, what was it, last night or night before, last night? And that's what they had us do there. I was sitting right next to somebody also wearing a mask. It would be terrific if we could do that. It would be just such a morale booster, don't you think?
Yep. Okay. So we have two items of homework. 1, call up businesses and get coats. 2, call up businesses and get meeting space.
Yeah, I guess you don't really want to have it at the Mac Club anymore, do you?
Max Club is great, but they're not hosting meetings.
Hey, Scott, could you find out if they are now? Because I know, like, was it 2 weeks ago? They had an ice skating rink out front and it was fully loaded with people from the community. And I thought, oh, maybe they're starting to host again. I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So that was the tree lighting, the Mac tree lighting. So that was just Mac people.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they're not allowing guests right now.
Yeah. But I'll ask, but I don't think it looks good. We'll continue to ask. They've been very generous in giving us space and cookies. So we'll continue to take them up on their offer.
Yes.
Well, I just hosted an event where we had about 40 people from outside. It was a special traditional event. So I think they might be opening up as long as Omicron doesn't cause a big to-do.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, I'll ask. Hey, anybody else have anything else? Alan, do you want to say a few words? You okay? Okay. All right, well, great seeing everyone. Thank you,
Thank
new
you,
members.
Brenda.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Scott.
All right, bye, everybody.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Yeah, Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays,
everybody. Happy New
everyone.
Year.
Oh, one last thing, Scott.
Yeah.
I was going to ask. So if for example, I was thinking, just putting out a thing to my condo. So if I get, I think what Tiffany said, send out a memo something to the condo that we need men's shoes size 10.5 and ladies size 8 and coats. So I collect these. I don't know where I'm going to put them in my 1,000 square foot condo. So where can I store these things as I collect them?
So Sherry, just find a spot. I'll come down if I have to once a week and take it off of you, or is there a space somewhere in your lobby, maybe a box? Could you put up a box or anything? I don't know. I don't know your building very well, so I just don't know. Like, do you have a front desk or anything?
No, we don't. We do have probably a place where you could put up a box. I'd have to ask the condo association, wouldn't I, Steve? Yeah. I'd have to do that, but yeah, the need is not going to go away after Christmas, that's for sure. So if we could keep it up, that would be nice. I could ask around and see what I can do. The other thing,
thank you.
You're welcome. I was thinking about 2 places. One is Next Adventure on the east side, that they have like used gear that they sell that they might be willing to donate. And I was thinking of REI. I wonder if they would. I wonder if they would be willing to. It's high end stuff, but I'm wondering, since they're a big company, if they would be generous to donate. Scott is smiling. He doesn't think
I was
so.
smiling at your comment about high end, just thinking about how expensive everything is at that store.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's expensive, but sometimes, you know, that some high-end places will make donations. So I don't know. I'll give it a whirl. The worst that they can say is no, right?
Or, well, maybe hell no, or send the dogs. After you. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Or
Well, I'm going to end the meeting. I love
Okay.
talking to you folks, but I'm going to get
Okay.
back to my daughter who just sent me a text saying she got 5 strikes in a row. So I'm going to call her and celebrate with her. That's awesome. She's
That's
bowling.
That's great.
Is she happy in school now? She likes Stanford?
Yeah, but she got bad news today because they are having virtual classes for the first 2 weeks of next quarter. They're still allowing people to come back to campus, but because they're worried about people bringing COVID back with them from wherever they're coming from, that
Yeah,
essentially quarantining everyone and having them be in their dorm room on their computers going to class. So
Oh,
well,
she's a
that's
little
a tough
upset about
one.
that, but she's having a great time at college, making lots of friends and new experiences, and none of it involves hard drugs. So I'm very
She's a
well,
good
you
girl.
must be relieved about that.
yeah,
Yeah, no, Zadie's a good girl. Well, congratulations, Scott.
yeah, thank you. All right. Well, great
Okay,
seeing everyone.
All right.
Happy Hanukkah. Merry
Take care.
Christmas to everybody else. Bye.
Okay.